Hel- Hello. I'm going to present today one of my paintings, which is called Ometeo. And in doing so, I'm also going to talk about the concept of Ometeo and who Ometeo is. So before I start, a little bit about myself. I am Chico Maitzcuintli Amatapatli. I'm a Mexican-American artist. I live in Mexico. I'm mixed race. And I'm also an Aztec dancer. I make regalia and things like that, like what I'm wearing right now. So the work I make, I consider like sacred art, which is meant for the danzante community and for Mexicans and Mexican Americans as a way of exploring our heritage. So the painting that I wanted to talk about today is this painting of Ometeo. So I'm going to go ahead and move the computer and set the painting down here so that you can see it from a different angle and closer up. So Ometeo means dual lord is the translation. In the Aztec language, in Nahuatl, there is no gender. So you can't say he or she. You have to specify when you're saying a word whether they're male or female. So the word Ometeo gets broken into two parts. There is Ome, which means two, and Teotl, which means divine or power, or it's a difficult word to translate, but it's often translated as a god, but it's not really a god as such. It's more like power or divinity. So Ometeo, dual lord lady, dual divinity, is the thing of which everything in the universe is made. So the idea would be that in Western thought, for example, we think of there being a God that created the world, if one believes in that. And God isn't the world. God created the world and is apart from the world. The world is his creation, but he isn't the world. In Mesoamerican thought, Teotl is the world. Ometeotl is everything that exists. So the world that we inhabit is a manifestation of Ometeotl, and it is Ometeotl at the same time. So this painting here is an image of what that means. So in the pre-Hispanic world, there were no representations of Ometeotl. Everything that exists is Ometeotl, so therefore it can't be represented. However, I wanted to make this painting as a way of explaining the concept. So in the center of the painting, there is this intertwining serpent, which is eating its own tail and running around eternally. And at the top is the sun, the duality. They are both male. The connection is unstable and is reconnecting. So they are both male, the principle of male and female, which causes everything in the world to run. So that would be light and dark, hot and cold, male and female, the moon and the sun. These different dualities that we experience in our day-to-day lives are both elements of Ometeo. So that's not to say that they're opposites. They're the same thing. Life and death are not opposites. They're both manifestations of one single truth. Just like light and shadow are not opposites. Shadow doesn't exist without light. If there is no light, you can't have a shadow, and if there is no shadow, you can't have light. So at the bottom, I painted the moon, and at the top, the sun, to represent this idea of the duality. So on another level, Ometeo is space. So there are four gods who are the sons of Ometeo, four Teteo, and they occupy the four corners of existence. So at the top is at the top here appears Chipetotec, who is the Lord of the East. So the East and everything that is in the East is represented by Chipetotec. So that would be the rising sun, the concept of youth. It's good luck, joy, youthfulness, and all of the things and ideas that are associated with the East. In the West, in the North is Tezcatlipoca, the black Tezcatlipoca. So the North is associated with the idea of death and is the world of the ancestors. And it's also associated with the idea of night. So Tezcatlipoca is the lord of destruction, chaos, and the arbitrary whims of fate. And he stands at the north. In the West is, I want to turn it around so that it's facing up. In the West is Quetzalcoatl, the plumed serpent. So the West is associated with the setting sun and with the idea of Quetzalcoatl, who is the Lord of creation. And in the south is Huitzilopochtli, the hummingbird on the left, who is the sun at the zenith, the sky at midday, therefore his body is blue. And he's associated with the idea of sacrifice, war, violence, intellect, the intelligence, and light. And so those are the ideas that are associated with him. So in the painting, the four Tezcatlipoca occupy the four sides of the painting to represent the four directions, because Ometeo is space. And then Ometeo is time. In the Mesoamerican worldview, there is no distinction between space and time. They are both just manifestations of one single truth. So in the painting, at the four corners appear these glyphs. So like here is a skull, which represents death. Here is a monkey. Here is a vulture. Here is an alligator, which is a Saint-Cipactli, which represents the earth. And then around the center are more. These are the rabbit, house, flint. These signs represent the 20 days in the Aztec calendar, or in the Mexica calendar, and therefore Ometeo is time. So they are time and space at the same time. And then there are these 9 lords who are occupying, who are emerging from the center like the flowers, the petals of a flower. So these 9 lords represent the 9 lords of the night. They are one cycle of lords. I could have chosen any cycle, but 9 was a good number to put here. And they appear in order. So they are, for example, Chalchiutlicue, who is the Lady of Water, Tlazoteotl, who is sexuality. That's Tepeyolotl, who is the god of the mountains and wild animals, things like that. This is Tlaloc, the god of rain. Tezcatlipoca, Piltzintecutli, and Sinteotl, who is corn. So these lords, if you notice, their arms become serpents, and they are eating one another. So as they go around the spokes of this wheel, they consume one another. Because one of the principal ideas of Ometeo is that Ometeo is change. So the gods don't destroy one another, they don't kill one another, but they transform into one another. So here, the god of the sun consumes and transforms into the god of corn, just as corn is necessary for the sun is necessary for the corn to grow. They feed one another and transform and become one another. And then later, Sinteotl transforms and becomes death, because the corn will die. And any creature who eats corn is doomed to die. We are mortal. And so as you see, the creatures, the gods, as they go around the serpent, transform and change into one another. And this returns back to the idea of the duality. Life and death, for example, are not opposites. Life becomes death and transforms into death, and death transforms into life. For example, when a body dies and it's buried, say, in the forest, the place where it's buried will become more fertile. It breaks down and feeds worms, it feeds the soil, and transforms into life. It's not the same life, it's new life. But death feeds and becomes life, just as life feeds upon and becomes death. So at the center of the image is this like capital I shape. So this represents the ball court and is one of the symbols worn by Xiuhtecuhtli, the Lord of Wisdom, who's at the center of the cosmos. So this image I've taken as a symbol of Ometeo. The ball court in Mesoamerica is shaped like this capital I. It's a sunken patio, and the players play ball across the court. So the court is thought to be a place which is a meeting place between the heavens and the underworld on the surface of the earth. So it's a union between the 3 levels of the cosmos, and you can also see that in the form of the court itself. There's like the I bar at the top, which is heaven, the earth, and the underworld, and the ball that's bouncing back and forth across the court is a symbol of the heavenly bodies moving back and forth across the heavens. They're the sun in the sky, the sun and the moon, and the stars, the comets, all of these different heavenly bodies, which are moving back and forth and are manifestations of Ometeo. So this represents change, winning and losing, life and death, the game, which is because Ometeotl can't represent it. There's no like face paint or regalia that represents Ometeotl. It I'm sorry about that. It seemed like the connection has sorry, the connection went out again for a second. So because Ometeotl because there's no image of Ometeotl, like no regalia, no face paint of Ometeotl. Here, Ometeotl is represented by this abstract symbol, which is the ball court, which is this inside of a green stone, which is the point at the center of the cosmos about which everything spins. At the center is this ball, and everybody stands on top of it. Time is around it. Change is writhing through it, like the faces, like the different serpents that are wrapped around it. The gods, the sun and the moon are all around it. And a unitary thing, which is Ometeotl, which is the one and only at the center of being. So all of this is to say that that the idea of individuality is an illusion. Like we don't exist as individual people, you and I. I'm going to go ahead and change the focus again. So we don't exist as individual people. We exist as manifestations of Ometeotl, who is the one truth, who is at the center of being, and everything else is an illusion. One of the ideas of Ometeotl, there are many metaphors to describe them, is that Ometeotl is a shaman. They are a shaman who are sleeping, and their dream, the dream that they envision, is the world that we inhabit. So the universe is the dream and the dreamer happening at the same time. And another metaphor of Ometeotl is that Ometeotl is a weaver. Ometeotl is weaving creation. The warp and the weft are male and female, and the different principles of movement, which time and space, which are woven together and create the fabric of existence and time. However, Ometeotl isn't creating something separate from themselves. Ometeotl is the weaver and the woven creation, which is the world that we inhabit. And a last metaphor of Ometeotl, which I particularly love because it relates to art and artists, is that Ometeotl is a painter of a book, of an amoshli. Ometeotl paints creation into existence. Everything that is the dream and invention of Ometeotl painted on this book, the sacred book, which is existence. However, the book and the creator are one and the same thing. So, I think that'll be it for now. I just wanted to share with you this painting of Ometeotl, this concept, which I think is really profound, and which describes this important element of what is our heritage, and to understand that everything that comes out of Mesoamerican thought, like all of the paintings that I'll be sharing with you, the calendar, the teteo, everything is nothing more than a manifestation of Ometeotl, who presents themselves to us as this mask, which is space, time, and change. So thank you very much.